Good morning. So I'm out here to do a couple things this morning. Um, I'm going to try to move my hive from those cement blocks over here to this kind of bench setup. I was also going to treat this morning for mites using formic acid, formic pro strips. However, when I was reading about the application process, it did suggest to not do it if the temperature was not below 85 degrees for 3 days in a row. And we're calling for 90 plus temps all week. So I think I'll wait until maybe the weekend or next week to treat for mites. It looks like I'm a little behind schedule, and that's also probably because I'm behind schedule just with getting my bees. Spring and late fall. So at the beginning of the season, and then when they get ready to hunker down for the winter is the best time to do it. The other thing that I'm going to do is put in my small hive beetle collection trap. And I've read all kinds of ways to try to control for the small hive beetles. They're the invasive species from, I believe, Africa that tend to slow the bees down and cause all kinds of havoc. I'm going to just try the Swiffer sheets. So I have the unscented Swiffer that you just lay down in the corners of the hive. Actually, I found that it tends to work better than anything. I've found some other things available, but we're going to try this. The only thing I've seen in terms of caution or precautionary advice is that sometimes the bees will actually carry them out. And then also the propolis could just glue them to the hive itself, making it a little harder to get the frames out. So we'll see what happens. So those are the things I'm going to do today. I don't think I'm going to check any of my frames, although since I have it open, maybe I will just take a look at the frames that were empty the last time, just to see if I need to begin thinking about putting my second deep box on. All right, so here we go. I'm trying a couple new things in terms of sound and filming. Shout out to my son for giving me those suggestions. We'll see what we can get going here. Sometimes I think the smoke actually bothers them more than it helps calm them. And I tell you, this suit tends to protect me more from the horrible mosquitoes we're having right now than the bees. My bees are pretty gentle. They don't seem to be bothered too much by me. Sometimes I'm not even sure I need this suit, but these mosquitoes are horrible. I don't know if where you're at, you're having the same type of issues, but holy smokes. No pun intended. Okay, this is not super heavy, but I certainly don't want to drop it. So I'm trying to be as careful as possible. Now, once you have your hive set up, it is definitely not recommended to move it much. The bees become oriented to the location. But the cement blocks here seem to be settling more than I would like them to. This bench seems to be a bit more sturdy, if you will. So I kind of wanted to give them a bit more stability. But I don't think this small change is going to affect them too much, hopefully. I mean, my goal is eventually to have more than one hive. So I have some space here that I can expand. But again, I do want them to be as stable as possible. And I think this is going to work. So I still have their opening headed southeast, if you will. I mean, I just shifted them a few feet. We cut down a few branches back here in my apiary to allow a little bit more sun in, but also to continue to give them some shade because it has been so hot here for the past week or so. So they do get a lot of morning sun. Now, it's a pretty cloudy day out today, so you probably can't see that in the video, but a lot of morning sun, more afternoon shade, which is kind of what you're looking for. Okay, this wheelbarrow I'm going to take out of here at some point. So that'll give me a bit more space to work, I hope. And then I'm going to keep these blocks back here. So again, the goal would be at some point to create additional hive space. But I think what I'll do most likely is set these up maybe with some 2x4s so I can place more hives on them as we grow. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I only have one hive, and so far it seems to be doing okay. But perhaps many of you are the same way. I tend to get excited, overzealous a bit. So I should probably just focus on the first hive, make sure that they make it through the winter, and then move forward from there in the spring. It's just sometimes it's real hard for me to be patient. I'm going to leave these here for now because I think this might be a nice space just to have things to kind of to use as storage, but I may end up moving them, but you don't need to see that on the video. All right, so we're getting kind of active here. Of course, my smoker has gone out. So I just have this propane torch, if you will, my smoker, and I'm going to make another video at some point kind of talking about how I even became interested in this and some of the tools that I use. But for now, I need to get this going again. So I simply have this loaded up with pine shavings, like the bedding that you use for hamsters and guinea pigs. I take my propane torch and just heat it up till the side of it is nice and red hot. So you don't really need to set it aflame too much. Again, a lot of this is personal preference from what I've read and from what I understand in terms of what you put in it. I've seen everything from pine cones to pine needles, denim, like 100% denim. And I've also read a little bit that what you use in your smoker can also change kind of maybe the flavor of the honey. Now, I'm nowhere close to harvesting honey, that's for sure. But it is still interesting to begin thinking about some of those things. All right, so my lid was good, not too glued down. We do have a couple smashed bees. I hate to see that. So I want to continue to be mindful of that as I learn how to better work my bees. So the propolis has definitely got us glued down here. So I'm just going to try to take my hive tool and pry my top off. Here we go. All right. Okay. Looking good. Hi, guys. Good morning, ladies. All right. Again, I'm not going to do too much here in terms of checking, mainly because that's not what I'm in here for. But I do want to check at least this first frame to see if they've started to draw it out yet. To see if I need to add my second deep. Box. Okay. Here we go. Come on, ladies. All right. So there's a little activity on here, a few bees. I can also see frame number 2. Again, they're starting to build a little comb here, but nothing that I would consider ready to go. So I think I mentioned this in the last video, but we're looking for that 7-10 rule, right? 7 out of 10 frames full, drawn out, and I'm definitely not seeing that. So give him a little calm down here. Just let him know that I'm not here causing no trouble. I'm just here to do the honeybee shuffle. Okay, that was dumb. All right, so now I'm going to take my Swiffer sheets and I'm going to just leave them folded. And we're just kind of creating a trap. So I'm going to put one here in this corner, maybe sticking to my hand. And then I'm going to take the other one and put it in this other corner. And again, the goal here is to trap some of those small hive beetles. All right, so I'm not going to treat for mites today. But the mite strips that I purchased, you basically lay down one, one, so they cover the width of the hive box, but not on top of each other, or they don't overlap. And then it's a 14-day treatment, so they kind of, the fumes work their way through. My understanding from reading it is that you do not want a screen on. So I do not have a screen, I just have a bottom board. Because basically when you put the mite strips in, it's going to cause fumes, and you want those fumes to be trapped in the box to treat for the mites. And my lid goes back on. Slowly. All right. And then my rock back on top here. So success. Hopefully I didn't smash any bees. I mean, the goal would be to not catch any beetles, because then my hope would be there are no beetles in there. However, from what I've read, they're a pretty big problem with all small hives. So we're going to try that and see what happens. I've also been reading a lot of different pieces of information regarding how to check for mites, and then when to test for, or excuse me, treat for mites based on that test. So one is the alcohol wash, and one is actually a powdered sugar dusting. And then, you know, kind of looking at the ratio of mites to bees. I don't know if I'm there yet in terms of being ready to try taking a sample of my bees, dusting them with powdered sugar. I have read that it shouldn't hurt the bees in any way, but I just need to do some additional reading, talk to a few other people. I'm hoping, this being the first of the month, July 1st, there'll be a couple beekeeping meetings coming up, and maybe I can ask some of those questions. So I'm done for the day. I probably will not come back out until maybe Sunday or Monday. Again, just to check the frames, see how they're doing. If the temperatures are dropping next week, then I may try to go ahead and treat for the mites. But until then, I'm going to just give them the opportunity to readjust to this small change that we've made. I can hear my dog in the background. He's going crazy. Move my blocks, do some of those things. I'll be back to make a short video perhaps on, again, why I decided to take up beekeeping, and just a few things that may help others who are just getting started. But until then, thank you for watching. Let me see if I can turn my camera off remotely. I'm getting pretty high tech here. I'm not sure. Hopefully my microphone worked. All right, signing off. Have a great day. Or not. The choice is yours.